Since the GRE was updated, critical reasoning is more important than ever. Now, it's always been important for the GMAT, but for both exams, you need to make sure you're confident with critical reasoning. And this video is going to cover one of the most important areas of critical reasoning, which is how to strengthen an argument. You might have seen question types like, which of the following, if true, most strengthens the author's conclusion? Or which of the following best supports the author's argument? Both of those are examples of a strengthening question. We need to find the author's main argument or conclusion and strengthen it. But how do we do that? Well, that requires two tasks. One, finding the conclusion of the passage, and two, strengthening it, usually by sorting out any inherent weaknesses it might have. And let's get to both of those things that you need to do. First, how do we spot a conclusion? The best way to think of a conclusion is it's the main thing that the author wants to get across. Imagine you only had 5 seconds to explain what the author was trying to say or trying to predict. That would be the conclusion. Now, there's a reason why I focus so much on the conclusion rather than focusing so much on the premise, the evidence, or the argument, because I find the conclusion by far the most important part of a critical reasoning passage. The conclusion is essentially where the author interprets the evidence they've got and comes up with their opinion about that evidence. I've noticed that the majority of the time, one of the 10 conclusion words you can see on screen are used to present an opinion, to present the conclusion. Most commonly, words like will, should, must. A conclusion won't always use one of these words, but these words are a giveaway that the author is expressing their opinion and their conclusion. Okay, so what do we do when we've spotted the conclusion? What you need to do is ask yourself, do I agree with that conclusion? Is that conclusion definitely true? What are some of the weaknesses associated with that conclusion? What are the logical leaps that the author has made? And what could undermine that conclusion? If the question is asking you to strengthen the argument or strengthen the conclusion, we need to get rid of one or more of those weaknesses. So it's a really good idea to prep your brain by thinking, what are those weaknesses in the argument? What are those potential holes? And how would we fill them in? Without further ado, I want to get to an example that highlights just this case. This one's from the GRE. Afterwards, we're going to do an even tougher example to really see if you understand how to strengthen an argument. This question from ETS Power Prep asks, which of the following, if true, most strengthens the argument? If you want to, just on the tips I've already given, you could try to pause the video and get this question right yourself. If not, I'm going to read through it and show you exactly how this trick works. The question is, recently an unusually high number of dolphins have been found dead of infectious diseases, and most of these had abnormally high tissue concentrations of certain compounds that, even in low concentrations, reduce dolphins' resistance to infection. So let's stop and summarize. A lot of dolphins have been dying because of these compounds that reduce their resistance to infection. Let's keep going. The only source of these compounds in the dolphins' environment is boat paint. Oh no, so the boats are killing them. Therefore, since dolphins rid their bodies of the compounds rapidly once exposure ceases, their mortality rate should decline rapidly if such boat paints are banned. So it's basically saying the dolphins should stop dying once we ban this boat paint, because the boat paint contains these compounds which are killing the dolphins. Before we even look at the answers, can you find one or two weaknesses with that opinion, with that prediction? By the way, did you spot the word therefore, identifying that that was the conclusion sentence? I can think of two potential weaknesses here. First, if we ban boat paint, doesn't mean that the law will be followed. So one way to strengthen the argument would be to say, the law will definitely be followed by all boat owners. That would strengthen the argument because it removes a weakness. The other problem is, what about the existing boat paint that's already out there? That's a weakness in the conclusion. So to resolve that weakness, we could say the boat paint that's out there already will rapidly become safe, for example. Those are two quick predictions. They don't have to be that accurate, but they just help us to prepare for looking for the right answer. We're looking for ways of removing the weaknesses in the conclusion and thereby strengthening the argument. Let's look at the answers. The first one, the levels of the compounds typically used in boat paints today are lower than they were in boat paints manufactured a decade ago. Okay, that's just a comparison with the past, doesn't really have any relevance now. 2, in high concentrations, the compounds are toxic to many types of marine animals. Well, again, that doesn't really affect this prediction specifically about dolphins. We're focused on dolphins dying here, so that's not right. Number 3, the compounds break down into harmless substances after a few months of exposure to water or air. Now that fits in perfectly with our second prediction. That's removing that weakness of, what about the boat paint that's already out there? This answer is saying, don't worry, the boat paint that's out there already will dissolve and break down soon anyway. So we've removed a weakness and therefore we've strengthened the argument. I'll quickly finish off the fourth and fifth answers. The fourth one, high tissue levels of the compounds have recently been found in some marine animals, but there is no record of any of those animals dying. Well, again, that's not focusing on dolphins, so that's incorrect. Our conclusion is about dolphins. The fifth answer is, the compounds do not leach out of the boat paint if the paint is applied exactly in accordance with the manufacturer's directions. But that was true already. That was true before the ban or after the ban. So that's not affected by the ban, therefore that's not relevant to the conclusion and can't be right. Time for the next question. Again, I'll let you pause the video and try this one yourself, or you can wait and see how I use the trick to answer this question. The question is, which of the following, if true, most strongly supports the right company's projection that its plan will lead to an increase in sales of its pencil leads? It's a strengthening question because of that most strongly supports, and the conclusion is that the plan will lead to an increase in the sales of pencil leads. The passage says, manufacturers of mechanical pencils make most of their profit on pencil leads rather than on the pencils themselves. The right company, which cannot sell its leads as cheaply as other manufacturers can, plans to alter the design of its mechanical pencil so that it will accept only a newly designed right company lead, which will be sold at the same price as the right company's current lead. So they're going to design their own mechanical pencil that only accepts their lead. And they're hoping, or they're planning, or their opinion is that this will lead to an increase in its sales of pencil leads. Can you think of a weakness in that conclusion? One that springs to mind is, well, what if we can't sell that mechanical pencil? Or what if no one wants to buy that mechanical pencil of the right company? If no one wants that pencil, then no one will need the lead. So a weakness of that conclusion is you might have designed a bad or unaffordable mechanical pencil. And if no one buys that, then no one's going to buy your lead. Therefore, I'm looking out for an answer that removes a weakness such as that and says that maybe people will buy that mechanical pencil. And second of all, I'm going to be quite focused on an answer relevant to an increase in sales of that mechanical pencil and pencil leads for that company. A doesn't even mention the right company, and we don't like that. B is tempting because it does say sales in general are going to increase, but it's not good enough because even if sales in general are going to increase, that doesn't prove that sales of our particular mechanical pencil will increase. C is quite weak because it only focuses on one company executive studying certain ways. that's not nearly enough to strengthen a general conclusion about sales. D is simply saying that another company will copy the plans of the right company. But again, we're trying to support the conclusion that the right company's plan will work, not that this other company's plan will work, which leaves us with E. And E says, in extensive test marketing, mechanical pencil users found the new right company pencil markedly superior to other mechanical pencils they had used. This suggests that lots of people would be willing to buy that mechanical pencil, which removes that weakness we predicted that maybe no one would be interested in buying our pencil and therefore being reliant on our pencil leads. E removed a weakness and therefore ended up strongly supporting the conclusion. Those were two quick examples, but I really hope they illustrated how to strengthen an argument. Spot the conclusion, think of its weaknesses, and predict answers that might remove those weaknesses. If you like the video at all, please leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and thank you again for watching.